Gentlemen, I stand at my garden gate with my 3 young children, Janie, Tessa, and Alistair. I am a housewife. I am a mother. Do I look like a spy?
In 1961, the Cold War was reaching its climax. Russia and the United States seemed to be moving inevitably towards conflict.
John Miller, Reuters journalist, Moscow, 1960 to 1966.
Each side tested ever larger nuclear weapons. In April 1961, the Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin orbited the Earth several times, humiliating America. A week later, Fidel Castro proclaimed victory over American-backed invaders at the Bay of Pigs.
My name is Oleg Vladimirovich Penkovsky. I am a colonel in the GRU, the Chief Intelligence Directorate of the Soviet General Staff. I bring you here copies of my government's plans to deploy R-11 and SS-1 medium-range ballistic missiles in Eastern Europe. These plans are very important, but I have much more important intelligence for you on our country's long-range strategic missile capabilities, secret diplomatic initiatives, on the relations between important people and the ministries within the Russian government. I know how badly you, my friends in MI6, want that information, how vital it will be to you as we move towards this terrible confrontation between our 2 countries. But there is a problem. It is very dangerous for me to visit you here in the West, to smuggle out this information. I need an agent of yours in Moscow I can pass it on to, someone quiet, unobtrusive, who no one will notice.
Intelligence expert.
Penkovsky was a GRU officer, very well connected in the Soviet establishment, married to a general's daughter, with quite a brilliant career ahead of him. But something was strange about him that was spotted by his British and American contacts, that he seemed desperate to defect. Reasons never quite worked out. Penkovsky touted himself about so much with Western diplomats and others that he met that the CIA had to issue a notice to all of its officers all over the world, in any part of the embassy or any establishment abroad, to keep away from this man because it looked like a Russian provocation. But eventually he found somebody who was prepared to listen to him. He gave a packet of papers to a Canadian diplomat at a reception in Moscow. The Canadian diplomat couldn't get rid of them fast enough because he didn't want to be involved, and passed them on to his British counterpart, who sent them back to London, and eventually they were examined by high-ranking British intelligence officers who saw that this possibility, maybe even the probability, that this man would make a marvellous recruit, and they recruited him. The British took a gamble with Penkovsky. The gamble paid off. The Americans were chagrined to discover that they could have had this man themselves. The British very gracefully allowed them to have an officer as part of the team that was handling Penkovsky, but it was a British coup.
Mommy, I want to play on the swing.
All right, darling. Janie.
Mummy?
Take Tessa over to the swings. Would you make sure that she doesn't get knocked over? All right, come on then, you 2. Take Alistair too. Hang on to his hand so he doesn't run off. Don't worry, Janie. I'll be watching everything you do from over here.
All right, Mummy.
Children,
They always seem to take more notice of you than me.
That's because I'm their mother, Rory.
Of course, you're the original mother hen, and a strikingly good-looking one at that.
Oh, it's so nice. Getting out of that horrid little flat, away from the whole diplomatic quarter. Getting out into this sunny park.
Filled with suspicious-looking Muscovites. Remember when it was just the two of us?
Of course I do.
On our own in Berlin?
That was such fun then.
Then.
Don't worry, Rory, I still love you, however many children we have.
Mummy, Janie keeps bossing me around.
Hello, my darlings, what's the problem now?
Mummy, Tessa saw a Russian boy with some ice cream, and now she wants some.
Oh, ice cream, I love ice cream.
Rory.
And still wants some too.
Not till we go, my loves, I've already told you. No ice cream till we leave. Now go on, go back to the swings.
Yes, Mummy. I don't want to.
Making them on like that. You know I don't approve of ice cream with all that sugar in it.
Ruskies can't afford the sugar, so there isn't any in theirs.
No.
Thing is, old girl, this new job's come up.
What, you mean we're leaving Moscow?
No, not exactly. I was talking about you.
Me?
You know, just like in Berlin, the old days. Me running you.
What?
The thing is, this Russian has offered us some extremely valuable information. But we've got no one on station at the moment who can possibly do the job. We need someone quiet, unobtrusive, just like you, darling, who can be handed something discreetly in a park, just like this one.
Me?
You and the children.
Are you mad?
Darling, I don't know if you've been following the news recently. Hydrogen bombs going off, missiles being waved around, Mr. Khrushchev banging his shoe on the desk at the UN. The international situation is very, very grave. What we're doing here is intimately connected with that.
And the answer, darling, is no. It's a ridiculous suggestion. All that is over. They'll have to find someone else.
Well, the reason they chose Janet Chisholm was simply that she was the perfect spy, in the sense that nobody would ever believe that she was one. I mean, here she was wandering around the streets of Moscow with kids in a pram, looking like any English housewife, sweating out her time in Moscow. And yet all the time she was Penkovsky's contact with these controllers in British intelligence and the CIA. So she was ideal cover. That's why she was ideal.
Janie Chisholm.
Well, I don't think they could have picked my father to handle him. It would have been far too difficult, far too sensitive. He would have been followed. I think they probably picked her because she was the most likely to agree, because she'd been in SIS herself, and partly to help my father in what was part of his job, but not because of any special qualities of her personality. I think she was probably, in some ways, the last person to ask, because she was pretty shy and unassuming.
I lived, as the Chisholms did, in Sadova Samotyochная улица, and it was called Sad Sam, because that was easier. I think that because of his, if you like, high profile to the KGB, I think he discussed it with her, and having been working for MI6 SIS in Berlin, as soon as she married him, she quit. But, you know, this was her husband, and this was his job.
I danced and I danced and I danced.
You did, and you were the most beautiful woman in the room.
So my homemade dress was all right?
I admit it, you knocked all those couturier-clad ambassadors' wives into a cocked hat.
Oh, I do love the bossa nova. Darling.
Darling?
Explain this possible job to me.
Well, it would be very straightforward.
Explain.
You're in the park. This rather courteous middle-aged Russian gentleman comes up to you with a box of chocolates under his arm.
Chocolate?
He compliments you, then he looks into the pram, if you've been able to get young Alistair into it.
Then it does involve the children.
It does.
Then I won't do it.
Darling, do you think I'd have asked you to do this if I hadn't thought it over and over? They're my children too, you know. Children have been used in spying since the beginning of time. How do you think the French resistance survived in the last war without using mothers and their children?
I don't need a history lesson, darling. These are our children. It is their future I am thinking about.
Exactly. And what we're doing here is intimately involved with their future. Whether they're going to even have one. You listen to the BBC. You know how grave things are.
I pray for them every night.
Well, I'm afraid something more than prayer is required.
Oh, really?
I'm not exaggerating, darling. This operation is that important. The children would have absolute diplomatic immunity, so would you. The Reds could never lay a finger on you. It is vitally important information.
What would we have to do?
It's very, very simple. This middle-aged man merely compliments you on your baby, leans into the pram, slips in a box of chocolates beside a hopefully peaceful Alistair, takes away the one that's already hidden there, and he's gone. You bring his chocolate box home, hand it to me without a word because of the bugs in our flat. Your job, the children's job, is over. A one-off.
A one-off?
I promise you. You'll do it?
Yes.
You'll have to talk to the children beforehand, give them some idea of what's happening. I'll get Janie to keep an eye on Tess so you can concentrate on the man and the pram, okay?
Yes.
Good girl.
As a child, I wouldn't have been aware that people were listening in to what was going on in the flat. I mean, obviously, a lot of what happened, my mother told me about afterwards. Little things like having to watch the maid go through my father's clothes, the pockets of his jackets, to see if he'd brought anything home indiscreetly. She ended up not bothering to confront the maid with that, because each time she did, if a maid got sacked, another one from the KGB was resupplied.
Every apartment, and there were probably a dozen in that block, were bugged. Of course it was bugged. The Russians had no problem getting bugs into the place, but I only saw one bug, and that bug was Rory's bug. He may have had others, but I went there one day, and in this living room there was a picture, and he took away the picture, and there was the hole in the wall, and there was a pipe running down. It could have been a hot water pipe, and there on that water was the bug. You know, he was making the point that, you know, that was the Cold War, and we were not just in the front line of the Cold War, were we? We were behind the front line. We were on enemy ground, and therefore we had to accept it. He said, you'll have to learn to live with it as we learn to live with it. If we want to say anything, we go outside.
Why have you come outside on the street, Mummy? It's really cold.
I know, but I've got to talk to you.
I want my breakfast.
You'll get it, Janie, in a minute, but first we must talk. Today, Janie, you and I and Tess and Alistair are all going to play a game, and I need your help to play it.
A game?
Yes. You know the park we went to with Daddy on Sunday?
Yes, we go there all the time.
Yes, well, all of us except Daddy are going to go back there this morning. And then, as part of the game, when a certain man comes up to me, I'll signal to you, and you're to take Tessa away. Not too far away, but you're to keep her happy.
It's quite difficult keeping Tess happy. She always wants to do something she shouldn't do.
Yes, darling, I know, but you're clever enough to keep her happy just for a short while. Then when the man goes, I'll signal to you. You come straight back with Tessa, and we leave.
But that isn't a game, Mummy.
You've got to think of it as one, darling. You'll get a vitamin sweet at the end of it.
I'm sure that Janet would have been worried about what she was doing, because she was doing it with the children. What I'm saying is that if she had gone out on her own to meet Penkovsky, that's one thing, but to take the children, if something had happened. Janet Chisholm did it for her husband, and I'm sorry about this, and for England too. You know, she had... Obviously, she was patriotic, and she felt that this was something worth doing. But she would have also felt a little nervous that the children were with her. A little nervous about something happening, some incident happening, if the KGB had been onto them.
Your box of chocolates, darling.
Vitamins. Thank you.
Good luck.
You seem rather tense.
Of course I'm tense. My wife and 3 children are about to go off and do a very brave thing. Why are you tense?
I can't afford to be, Rory.
I don't remember the occasion, but I do remember the park where we met Penkovsky, and it wasn't far from the flat. It wasn't that huge a park. I mean, it was, you know, it had park benches, quite a lot of paving. I think there was skating in the winter. But I do remember a very large circus tent, and there was a big circus. Russians were very keen on circuses.
I can't have any ice cream, Tess.
No, Tess, you can't have any ice cream.
Mummy, should Tess and I go away yet?
Just wait a minute.
Ah, madam, what a lovely day it is.
Jenny, go away now.
The game?
Yes.
Come away, Tess. We're going to play. But I don't want to.
How do you do? Yes, it is a lovely day.
This is your child in the pram?
Yes. He's called Alistair.
Ah, then let me look just a bit more closely at Alistair. Ah, what a handsome baby he is. You have a beautiful family. I have some sweets here. Please, share them around.
Mummy, Tess won't do what I say.
Madame,
Yes.
our business is complete. It was a privilege meeting you and your lovely children. Goodbye.
Right. Goodbye.
She wouldn't do a thing I said. Mummy, Janie keeps bossing me around.
You've got it, darling?
Yes. Here you are.
Thanks. How did it go?
Oh, it was a shambles. Tess wouldn't behave herself at all. She and Janie started quarrelling right in front of the whole park. I was completely distracted. It was totally unprofessional.
Well, darling, you won't have to do it again. That was the first and last time.
You started to
Darling,
say...
quiet. The bugs.
Sorry. It was quite funny, though, really. He was a really sweet man. Rory?
Yes, darling?
You know, on one level, I could really get quite a taste for doing that sort of thing again. The excitement, the adrenaline rush, but on another level, involving the children, I was so anxious, I was nearly sick. I never want to do it again.
Don't worry, darling. You never will.
The early 1960s was a very, very dangerous period in East-West relations. It almost looked as if there was going to be a nuclear war tomorrow. There were hawks in the United States asking for a preemptive strike against the Soviet Union. There were hawks in the Soviet Union saying we must strike at the United States while we've got more missiles than they have. But there were doves also on both sides who were very worried about what was happening. And they wanted to let the doves on the other side know that they weren't alone, and that something would have to be done to prevent a nuclear holocaust, the end of the world. The best way of doing this, a faction in Moscow decided, was not to go face-to-face with the Americans, not to provide this information through diplomatic channels, but to provide it secretly through backstairs channels. And my firm belief is that the Dove faction in the Soviet Union chose Penkovsky as a way of passing this backstairs information, knowing that if Penkovsky was seen to be a defector in place, working for the West, and passing on this information, it was more likely to be believed than information passed openly.
This is the BBC World Service. The summit conference in Vienna between the leaders of the United States and the Soviet Union has broken up amid some acrimony. The Soviet leader, Mr. Khrushchev, left the meeting with every sign of anger, telling reporters as he walked down the steps from the meeting hall that the peoples of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics would not be dictated to in its policy towards Berlin, and reserved the right to act unilaterally in defense of its own interests whenever it chose. Mr. Kennedy, the American president, in reaction to the Soviet leader's words, observed while leaving that the world was unfortunately going to have to endure a cold, long winter.
I'm afraid we have to step into the time machine, Rory.
No.
You know, it's the only place in the whole embassy where the boffins say the Russians can't hear us.
Any Martians about?
Afraid not. Come on, in here.
Bunch up.
Now, switch on the scanners. And we're clear.
Did they like it? What we got?
Very, very much. Very impressed. What with all this Vienna and Berlin stuff, it's pure gold.
You mean...
All our friends' intelligence about missile ranges, deployment times, electronic details of the guidance systems, all ties in with all this stuff boiling up in Berlin at the moment. Enables us to get an over-the-horizon glimpse of what they're deploying. Khrushchev might make all these threats, build his walls, but we know exactly how many conkers he's got in his pocket.
You mean our information has been going over the pond, the cousins?
Right to the top, the very top. President Kennedy is fascinated.
Gosh.
Which is why...
Which is why what?
Ruari, there must be another contact. Janet gave questions to Penkovsky, which we must have his answers to, so that when it comes to Kennedy standing up to Khrushchev, he knows exactly what cards Khrushchev is holding.
No, Shirky, look here. Janet doesn't want to do it again. I gave her my word it would be the last. I know the Berlin confrontation is very bad, tanks at Checkpoint Charlie and
It's
all that.
only going to get worse. The world, Ruari, is on a knife edge. Penkovsky's information is absolutely vital.
I promised her there wouldn't be another one.
There must be another one, exactly like the last one.
Not if it involves the children. She'll never use them again.
Then you'll just have to tell her different. There's too much at stake.
But if it's that important, the Ruskies could get nervous. Guns start going off.
They'll have complete diplomatic immunity.
If what you say is true, I don't think either Khrushchev or Kennedy are that concerned about diplomatic immunity at the moment.
It's freezing, darling. What did you want me outside for?
We've got to talk. Away from the bugs.
The children?
The children are all asleep.
What is it, Rory?
I don't like saying this, darling.
What don't you like saying?
The thing is, I told you last time, promised you, it was a one-off.
You want me to do another brush contact, don't you?
Yes.
And last time I told you no.
I know. But it's very, very important.
I do listen to the BBC, darling. In fact, since last time, I've listened to it really carefully.
Then you'll know how dangerous the situation is.
How do we know your bosses are telling you the truth?
Oh, don't start that, darling. You know as well as me that it's professional suicide to start questioning your superiors. You lose your whole mental compass. Believe me, darling, it's the last thing I want you to do. That morning when you went off to the park, waiting for you and the children to come home was the worst time of my life. I swore to myself, I swore I'd never ask you to do it again.
I'll do it.
What?
It was nerve-wracking last time, but I quite enjoyed it. Provided the children aren't involved, I'll do it again. I suppose now you're going to tell me the children have to be involved.
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to stand here and haggle about my children's safety.
I've already had this argument with my betters. They insist they must be used as cover. Look, darling, I don't like doing this any more than you do.
I know, Rory.
On the last job, you yourself said Tessa and Alistair got in the way. This time, just go with Janie. She at least knows what's going on.
Just Janie?
Yes. Penkovsky wants a new rendezvous in an antique shop.
Golly, what a lot of things.
What's that, Mummy?
Oh, it's an old Russian piece of china, Dad. People who were getting married used to give them to each other.
That elephant's head is huge.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, and it's very dusty.
Don't touch, darling.
Mummy, that man over there. The man we saw before.
I know, darling. Don't look at him. In a second he'll leave the shop, and then we'll have to follow him.
This is a new game, isn't it? It's so good not having Tess and Alistair here. They'd just be shouting and spoiling everything.
Ooh, it's cold out here.
I'm not cold, Mummy. This game is so exciting.
There he is.
Let's go.
Slow down a bit, Janie. We need to see where he's going first.
He's going into that door.
An apartment block. Come on. Janie, before we go inside, you must pretend to be very cold.
Cold, Mummy? But I'm hot.
I know, but pretend you're cold, so I can pretend to take you in through the door to warm you up a bit.
All right. Oh, I'm so cold. I'm so cold.
Good girl. Come on. Are you here?
Yes.
Just stand there, Janie.
Yes, Mummy. Oh, I'm so cold. I'm so
Here's
cold.
my sweet box.
And here's... What's that? Someone's coming down the stairs.
Quick!
Mummy?
What are you doing?
Kiss me. Properly. So the person will be embarrassed. Look away.
What's happening?
It's an old woman. She averts her head. Looks away. She's gone. Madam, I apologize for that. My sweet box. Yours. I must be going.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you. Is that the game, Mummy?
Yes, darling. Listen, whatever you saw just now, it doesn't matter. It was a game. I still love Daddy very much.
Yes, Mummy.
Now let's go.
Yes. What is it, Mummy?
Nothing, Janie. There are two rather large men standing outside wearing black leather jackets. But they are part of the game. You and I must walk right up to them, past them, off down the street without even as much as looking at them. Do you understand?
Your hand's all cold, Mummy.
Yes, Janie. Let's go. I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
What do you mean?
He was so good, darling.
Who?
Pankowski.
Oh, right. But you and Janie were all right.
I'll tell you about that in a second. But we're in this hallway, exchanging, okay? And suddenly this old babushka starts coming down the stairs. Without even thinking, he grabs me and starts kissing me, passionately. Janie just staring. But the old woman looks away, as he calculates she would. Goes clucking past us, looking at the wall, out onto the street. No, I don't. His tradecraft is brilliant.
Certainly sounds it. What about Janie?
That's the terrible thing about this profession, why you're so up and down.
What do you mean?
She and I go out onto the street. Who's looking straight down on us? Two thugs in black leather.
No. Who are they?
Secret police, obviously. And very unpleasant. I'm thinking what the hell have I got Janie into, but they just let us walk straight past them, staring at us all the time and off down the road.
Well, thank God for that. Were they GRU or KGB?
Haven't the foggiest.
GRU and military tend to be smarter, suits and coats. The KGB specialise in leather outfits and not shaving for a fortnight.
Why would it matter?
Well, Penkovsky's GRU. There's lots of mistrust between them and the KGB. If it was the KGB, they might have thought this was a GRU operation and been scared of compromising it. The important thing is you and Janie are safe, and it's the last job you're going to have to do.
Part of me's ready to go on doing this. It's Oleg I worry about. Those policemen must have seen him too.
Yes, but they let him go.
Darling, while we're in private like this, there's something else I should tell you.
Yes?
I'm going to have another baby.
Another baby? What? Darling, that's marvellous. I've had enough. I want her out. Straight away, safe and sound, back home in Sussex with the children. She's pregnant again.
Yes, well...
What do you mean, yes, well? We, my family, have fulfilled our end of the bargain. She's gone out twice, risking our children, to meet Penkovsky, done exactly what you wanted.
She's always been covered by diplomatic immunity.
You think that would stop anyone if this case is half as important as you claim it is?
Were those gentlemen GRU or KGB?
She didn't know. Why should she? Probably KGB, hesitant to get involved. For all I know, they could have been GRU. This whole operation could be a sting for Penkovsky to feed us false information. They let him go, too.
Our bosses in London, in Washington, are certain it isn't. The intelligence is too good.
My wife is not doing another job. She is going home.
She isn't. You're an officer in the SIS, Ruari. You obey orders.
My wife is not SIS.
You know the MO. If you wish to have her replaced, you have to fill out the relevant forms, and the wife of another resident will be trained up, and when she's ready, put in Janet's place. Until then... Rory... I know I would never need to appeal to your patriotism. You're the most patriotic person I know, but the fact is this goes way beyond our country and its needs. This is the whole world.
What do you mean?
You know the stuff that's been brewing in the news?
You mean Cuba?
Let's just say that the specific range and payload and megatonnage of specific Soviet missiles, which only Penkovsky can supply, is of the utmost interest to Washington.
It's funny how all these really big shows always have a habit of occurring just before an American election, isn't it?
Rory, you and I are soldiers. We obey orders. That is our only duty. Janet will have another meeting with Penkovsky. I I've managed to insist it will be on British soil here in the embassy, so she'll be in no danger at all. No children whatsoever will be involved. We're about to have a British cultural evening, where we're to show some ghastly socialist kitchen sink film, A Taste of Honey, I believe it's called, to an invited Russian audience. Penkovsky has been invited. At the reception following the film, our cultural attaché will introduce Janet to Penkovsky, and what they arrange after that is entirely up to them.
I think it was very stressful. I think she smoked. She was a smoker, but she smoked a hell of a lot more. And she had a miscarriage in Moscow, which in those days in Soviet hospitals were pretty dire. And I think the miscarriage, she's often told me, was a direct result of the stress. And had another baby when we got back to England. I think it cost her something emotionally, to keep a brave face throughout the whole case.
I really did enjoy the film, Nigel.
Oh, good, Janet.
So refreshing to see British films which aren't all about stiff-upper-lipped British officers making crucial decisions.
I know what you mean. Now, I really must introduce you to someone.
Oh?
A really interesting gentleman from a Soviet trade delegation. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Oleg Penkovsky. Mr. Penkovsky, this is Janet Chisholm, wife of one of our embassy officials.
How do you do, Mrs. Chisholm?
Very well. It's very good to meet you, Mr. Penkovsky.
I did so enjoy that film about how ordinary people live in the United Kingdom.
Yes, it was interesting, wasn't it?
Now, if you'll excuse me, apparently there's some problem with the vol au vent in the kitchen.
Yes, of course. I hear you're expecting a baby.
News travels fast.
Well, this is Moscow. Tell the ambassador's wife you're feeling tired, and ask if you can have her lie down in her bedroom. Then I'll ask her to show me around the embassy.
Right. Very nice to meet you, Mr. Penkovsky. Again, he was extraordinary. I was laid out on Her Excellency's Queen Anne bed, resting my frail woman's body. Then I hear them coming down the corridor.
So this is your West Wing?
Oleg using a particularly boomy voice.
And what is in here?
Before the lady ambassador can stop him, he opens her bedroom door, sees me...
Oh, excuse me, madame.
And partly withdraws.
There is someone in here.
But stays facing the ambassador's wife in the open doorway, all the time with one hand behind the door, waving the package he wishes me to take. I'm off my bed like a greyhound off its leash, snatch his package and shove mine in his hand, all unseen and unsuspected by Her Excellency, and he's closing the door while deftly slipping the package in his pocket. The sheer deftness, the sheer cleverness and courage of that man. God, I hope he survives this.
Can I have the package, darling?
Don't you trust me, darling?
No, darling, it's not that. But were the police suddenly to decide to swoop, and there's enough of them around, I'd rather the documents were found on me than you.
Rory, that's so sweet. I'm touched. Kiss me.
No, come on. Enough of your amorous tricks, you Mata Hari. Come on, give me the documents.
The sacred documents.
The sooner I get you back to Sussex, my girl, the better. I know it's been tense, but I think you're starting to enjoy this.
I know. Suddenly you start to see the world from a whole different angle. Politics, the news. It's fascinating. I'm going to start reading more books, Rory.
Janet, I need you, the children need you, the family needs you.
Of course, darling, and I'll always be here for you, for all of you, even if I do read the odd book, go off for walks sometimes, and, God forbid, think about things. Oleg's the one I really worry about.
Why?
Because he's the one that took the real risks. Extraordinary, unbelievable risks. And they know he's been meeting us.
Penkovsky's military intelligence material has since been derided as being fairly run-of-the-mill stuff, manuals and other things, although no intelligence is really unimportant. But his strategic political intelligence justifies the title of the man who saved the world, because what he was able to do was to provide the West with an overall assessment of what was called the adventurism of Khrushchev in putting missiles or threatening to put missiles into Cuba. And say, look, although Khrushchev may threaten President Kennedy with ideas like missiles in Cuba and all that, he hasn't got the capacity to do so. The Soviet Union does not have sufficient missiles to provide a credible threat to the United States. The missile gap is in America's favor.
It looks as though the whole balloon's about to go up.
You mean Cuba?
Yes. They know who you are. I'm going to get you, Janet, and the family out of here as soon as possible.
Thank God. So, it's the first flight back to London?
Yes, and a nice safe desk job for you.
On October the 22nd, 1962, President Kennedy made a special television broadcast from the White House to the American nation.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere. I call upon Chairman Khrushchev to halt and eliminate this clandestine, reckless, and provocative threat to world peace and to stable relations between our two nations. I call upon him further to abandon this course of world domination. He has an opportunity now to move the world back from the abyss of destruction.
Oh, I'm glad I got that weight off my feet.
You're getting quite a fat tummy, Mummy.
I know. Is your cake nice?
It's all right, but I prefer ice cream.
English ice cream has lots of sugar in it. What do you think of your new school uniform?
It's nice, though the yellow bits are a bit funny. Mummy?
Janie?
You know this thing about Cuba that's on the television? Bombs and missiles and things?
Yes.
Well, I was talking to some children in the village about it in the playground.
Yes.
And they said the world was going to come to an end. And we would all get blown up. Killed.
Of course that's not going to happen. You'll see, darling. Mr. Khrushchev and President Kennedy will be sure to work out some sort of agreement.
Because, you see, with me not going to my new school for a whole week, I was wondering if I'd need my new uniform at all. If I was going to die.
Oh, darling, you're not going to die. Of course you need your new school uniform.
Maybe Penkovsky's greatest service was to get himself arrested, just on the most crucial moment during the Cuban Missile Crisis, because it looked as if it was absolute proof that he was telling the truth. But it was also a wonderful boost to Kennedy, because Kennedy now knew that the missile gap was in America's favor, but he also knew that Khrushchev knew that he knew. So the old dangerous guesswork that had led up to all this was gone, over. I mean, they could then both now negotiate from positions of knowledge rather than positions of ignorance. Dick White, the chief of Britain's Secret Intelligence Service, speaking to a group of his officers after the Cuban crisis was over, had this to say about Penkovsky's information. I'm given to understand that this intelligence was largely instrumental in deciding that the United States should not make a preemptive strike against the Soviet Union, as a substantial body of opinion in America had been in favor of doing.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the 8 o'clock news for Monday the 29th of October. The Cuban crisis is over.
Oh, thank God for that.
Speaking on Radio Moscow...
Rory, did you hear that? It's over.
I'm on the phone, darling.
So the world's not going to go bang, Mummy. All the world goes bang.
No, my darlings, of course not. Tessa, do you want fried or scrambled eggs?
Scrambled, please, Mummy.
The man on the BBC has just said that everything will be all right. The Americans and the Russians are going to be friends.
It's been a difficult time, though, hasn't it, Mummy? I've been watching you and Daddy, and you've been really worried.
It's all over now, darling.
Right, okay, I'll be in touch. Darling?
Did you hear the announcement on the radio, Rory? It's all over.
Yes, I know. Darling, you and I need to speak.
What, in the garden?
No, not in the garden. Darling, out in the corridor.
Of course. Janie, you serve the bacon. And don't let the other two near the Argo.
Yes, Mummy.
My mother, she didn't talk about, neither of my parents talked about the whole case until I was grown up. As far as we knew, it was just something made up by the papers. But if I ever discussed it with her, and this wasn't very often, in my 20s and after, she, it wasn't that it was, because he died, it was therefore simply something sad. I don't know, she just didn't, if anybody tried to encourage her to feel some sort of pride or vanity about it, she would say, well, what for? Even though the intelligence may have been extremely useful, it did have a sad outcome in that Penkovsky died, and possibly very horribly.
It's good, the whole Cuban thing being over, isn't it?
Yes.
So what is it?
Firstly, I've been told our work, your work, was central to President Kennedy's handling of the crisis. The information you got from Oleg enabled him to know that Khrushchev was bluffing when he made all those brags about his missiles. Unfortunately, things haven't ended there.
What do you mean?
I'm afraid, though, we've only just found out, or at any rate you and I have just found out, Oleg was arrested in Moscow at the very start of the crisis.
What, 3 weeks ago? What are they going to do to him?
Shoot him, I'm afraid, if past form is anything to go by.
Oh, that poor man. He was so brave.
Most convenient for the Yanks.
What do you mean?
Oleg is arrested. Khrushchev immediately knows that Kennedy knows that Khrushchev, is bluffing. He's got far fewer missiles than he's claimed, and most of them don't work.
Then why this great, long, drawn-out crisis?
Elections. American midterm elections. String the whole thing out, really scare the electorate, and then next week they'll vote for you as though there's no tomorrow.
Poor Oleg.
Darling, that's not the end of it.
What?
Those lovely Russians have not only arrested and probably shot poor Oleg, but I'm afraid the dastardly creatures have also released photos of you and him exchanging in Moscow.
Our exchanges were photographs?
Yes. They released the photos last night. Fleet Street has gone crazy. Even now, convoys of journalists are hurtling down the A21 to our front gate. In fact, I think I can see a couple of them now.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
I suppose I'm going to have to go out there and deny point blank I'm a British spy, aren't I?
Darling, you don't seem that put out by it.
Well, that's what Oleg Penkovsky has taught me, darling. Always take control of your situation.
What do you mean?
One last time I'm going to play this wonderful, ridiculous game in memory of Oleg. Rory, change Alistair's nappy.
What?
Just do it. Jane's in her brand new school uniform, so she'll be fine. Tell her to comb Tessa's hair, all right?
What are you going to do, darling?
Straighten this old tweed skirt. Go upstairs and put some lipstick on. And then we, myself and my 3 lovely, extremely well-groomed children, will go out and face the hordes of Fleet Street. Look them in the eye. Dare them to call me a spy.
You are rather magnificent.
And after that I can pop Janie in the car and drive her to her first day at school.
Janet Chisholm was played by Juliet Aubrey, Rory Chisholm by Anthony Calf, Oleg Penkovsky by Stephen Critchlow, Harold Shergold by Johnrowe, Janie Chisholm by Rosie Day, and Tessa Chisholm by Skye Bennett. The original music was composed by Jules Maxwell. Mother Spy was written by John Fletcher. The director was Charlie Taylor.
Polonium 210.